I built up, I guess, a bit of a reputation, sort of really digging it into them as hard as I could, and had no empathy for the books at all. A lot of people ask me what I do, and it's more who I am. I mean, this is who I am. I am this industry. I'm a, gambler, punter, bookie, whatever it is. You could make a good six-figure living off that if you really picked your spots, disciplined and patience and stuff like that.
That's Adam Bjorn, a professional legal bookie. If you missed part 1, I'll put a link to it up in the corner. In part 2 of my sit-down with Adam, we're going to talk about how he deals with sharp bettors and the crafty bettors looking to get one over on him. We'll also discuss the current U.S. regulated market and what the future holds for sports betting in America. If you're new here, I'm Captain Jack from unabated.com, and I make sports betting content designed to help you along your journey to becoming a sharper bettor. If that appeals to you, give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Now, let's get back to that conversation with Adam. So I'd like to get into your mind a little bit as a bookmaker. It's not often that you can have a candid conversation with a bookmaker, a very strong professional bookmaker, and find out exactly what their thoughts are on a lot of the things that sharp bettors try to like to do to get one over on the sports book. So I'm going to kind of go through a range of sharp moves over the next couple minutes here, and I want you to give me your feedback on what you do to counteract that or to adjust for it, and also, which ones are you just not tolerant of. So we'll go ahead and start with sharp bettors in general. So what about sharp bettors, guys that are, lifetime winners in the sports book? How do you deal with that?
Take their bet, move the number. I mean, anyone that's originating, I want their action, because then I get the information first. I don't want them betting elsewhere. I'd literally like to have made agreements in the past where give me your action first, don't let it hit the board, let me do what I need to do, and deal with it that way. It's give me the bet. I want to take all the bets, but the originators, just give me the bet, I'll give you a fair limit, and then let's go to work.
And do you find that you need to do anything special to encourage those originators to bet with you? Do you give them access to the line first? Do you hang the number earlier than somebody else? How do you attract them?
Some of them, give them the line first, or some of them, give them the line and then say, I'll guarantee you this, but I'll try and get you this. It's the same thing that people ask you, so what do you do to lay off? Nothing. I move the number. And if I have a guy in my speed dial that I know wants the other side, I'll find where he wants it at the other side and then take the action and go again. If I can find two originators on the opposite side, let them go against each other all day. But again, my philosophy has always been take all the bets and then work out what to do. But with the originators, I've built a very good relationship with a lot of originators over the years, all over the world. And again, it's just give me the information. Sometimes they'll just call you and say, you're not the number I want, but this is where I'm heading and stuff like that. And this business just comes down to relationships and being fair. On the bookmaker side, everyone's sort of looks down on them, which partly is fair enough with how some of them behave out there. But end of the day, just tell me what you want, tell me how much you want. I'll see what I can do for you out the gate, and then everything goes from there, and then just build it up over time. And then a lot of these guys that do have long-term winning, really good on one sport, average on the other sport, and maybe slightly loser on another sport. And that's what it comes down to, is just being more analytical and just digging into who they are, where they come from, what edge they might have, and then instead of torching hundreds of $1 million in marketing, just use them as that's the number. Now everyone else can come bet whatever they want.
What about arbitrage bettors?
Love them. Love arbitrages. Love hate arbitrages. So again, I have some very good relationships with some arbitragers. Again, there's some that are just annoying. They've just got their bots and they're just picking. But all that tells me is my number's wrong. So let me repeat that one. My number's either wrong or right. If they're winning as an arbitrager, then my numbers are wrong and I need to fix those numbers. So again, it's just a canary in the coal mine kind of thing of saying, this needs sharpen up. But arbitrage is probably not as friendly, or like to get as friendly as I do with originators, but I have a couple of really good arbitragers out there that help me a lot, and sports that they might beat places arbitraging on one thing, I can get it back off them on another thing that I'm more confident in and stuff like that. So I think a lot of these relationships are just give and take, and that just doesn't exist in the industry because the bookmakers really want to take and take, which then on the Bettors side, they feel obliged to take and take rather than just, being what it is. And I have something that you want, you have something that I want, do the best to make them both work.
Exactly. Okay, let's continue down the trail here. Mm-hmm. What about guys that are just looking for the low-hanging fruit? Maybe they're just playing props, or maybe just, your book doesn't really probably offer too many bonuses and promotions, but what about players that are just trying to pick off those type of things? How do you feel about them?
Well, being one of those for a very long time, I probably have a bit of empathy for them of going after that. I get why a lot of places, do small limits on things like that. And again, that's just kind of the bookie customer relationship. If that's what all they're doing, then they're not going to get any favors kind of thing. That's sort of the difference today. It used to be a lot more meat and potatoes, and now it's a lot more window dressing, just because that's what people think gets people in the door. I think it's still a bulk of people want meat and potatoes, and real meat and potatoes of being able to get a real bet, rather than this low-hanging fruit that, again, probably just draws in that kind of customer versus a long-term sustainable customer that you're looking for.
Okay, now what about the guys that are looking to play stale lines? They're I think some places call them board cleaners because they clean your stale numbers off the board. How do you feel about steam chasers?
Steam chasers are generally the ones that, the originator hits it and they're chasing the half point, whatnot after that. I think a lot of those come unstuck. So again, if they're chasing a number that's after the originator and it's in the place where I wanted it to be, then, come and get it. On the other side of it, the ones that are picking off stale lines, well, then that's on the bookie. I mean, the sports book, if you're hanging, to me, there has to be accountability. If that's your name of the game, is you're just going to put up a number and you're just going to kick out anybody that's either cleaning your board or arbing or originating or anything like that, then that's your business model. Good luck to you. I just can't do it that way, whether it's, costing me a little bit on the bottom line or whatever like that. I've dealt with traders where the numbers are like that, whether it's the market's moved and they haven't. But then again, I don't like moving on air. I like to have a bet that takes me to the number, because who knows why that number moved at the other place. If you're just copying other places, maybe there was a change in shift and the guy sat down and said, oh, I don't like 5, I'm going to go 6. Well, then you follow them to 6, and then all the +6 action comes in. Or, like happens, I mean, that Don Best has really been a great tool for certain people where, you know which lines to light up and everybody follows, and then you get your real volume back the other way. A good decade or something, Don Best, we're always using, wherever I was, horse matchups or unique kind of matchups. And I could just hang numbers, everyone would go up, and then I'd go start betting. I remember walking into the Aladdin in Vegas one year and realizing they're just copying. Every time I moved my number 5 cents, their board changed 5 cents. So, okay, next year I'm going to hang some numbers, I'm going to go and bet, and then I'll, put up the right numbers and stuff like that. So, I mean, I've always enjoyed those kind of games. But, back to what you're saying is, to me, that's you need to be accountable as a bookmaker as much as the bettors do as well.
Definitely. Okay,
I'm probably a little too fair as a bookmaker, but probably that's because I've spent so many years on the other side, and I kind of understand where everybody from both sides is coming from.
And that's a great thing. That's nothing to be ashamed of. What about angle shooters? So these are guys that they know you've made an error and they go ahead and they bet it, and then they want you to pay, or they know there's something that they're betting into a mistake, but they feel like they can try to get one over on you. And I'm,
Right.
I'm probably painting this in a light that makes it sound nefarious, but there's a lot of guys that have approached the legal U.S. sports betting industry in this way of, just trying to find things that are wrong and get paid for it.
Yeah, again, they're probably on the lower rung of all the ones that you've mentioned. Again, having been in that position myself and doing it a lot of times, whether it was they had the home and away listed wrong, on a European soccer game at a book in Australia or something like, and they have no idea where there was a change of venue, stuff like that. But what I realized was the more you do that, again, that becomes the better bookie relationship. You really get no favors, you get no edges. And if it's something that you want to be in, as a career or with sustainability, you just leave those around. You pick up the phone and you say, hey, you've made this mistake. And again, that just builds the rapport of the customer house relationship. There's a lot of people that, it's just new to them. They never really bet offshore, or they never did anything like that. And they're seeing these opportunities to scrape up $25, $50 or something for every error. And if that's what they want to do, then, again, good luck to them. But it becomes a point in time when you've done it for the 10th time that people are going, well, just not going to bother giving him anything or something like that. Whether it's you do it, nefariously or whatnot, or whether you just open up and you just say, listen, I just bet this, or I see this, or, give me a $50 credit that I can roll over once or something like that. I'd rather someone say, that sort of thing, instead of just give me 50 cash, give me 50, roll over 2 times. And that, if you approach books, well, from my experience, and I don't know what these US books are, again, they're more European than US, whether they're open to that stuff or whether they're just tired of it, I don't know. But from what my experience is, if you come in, open arms, transparently, all that stuff, people on the other side appreciate that.
After hearing Adam's approach to bookmaking, I wanted to find out what he thought of the current regulated U.S. market. I asked him, what's the best thing he's seen in the States so far?
Well, the best thing is that people have a safe place to bet. I mean, if you're a $10, $20 better, and you're in a state where it's, legalized, regulated, you can bet, guaranteed to get paid if you win, especially the guys that bet $10 parlay to win 10, 20,000, stuff like that. You go onto those offshore forums and all those kind of things, and you hear all kinds of horror stories, legitimate winners not paid, things like that. You also see some of those things in the States where they take them to the regulators, and the regulators don't understand what they're dealing with.
So then let me ask the converse of that question. What is the worst thing about the regulated U.S. market so far?
Well, it's just that there's no bookmakers. I mean, there is literally, I don't believe, a single bookmaker. I mean, yeah, you've got the Vegas ones, the Superbook and stuff like that, and they'll take a bet. And then you've got Circa, again, building a pretty good reputation with limits and that, but something that, a real bookmaker could replicate very quickly across other states if they get the opportunity, as I guess Circa could if they, move into other states and things like that. The regulators some have got it really wrong. Some have got it, semi-okay. I think Tennessee, a lot of people criticize Tennessee. I think they got it pretty much spot on, except for the one thing where the books have to earn like 10% ROI or something like that.
Right, the mandatory hold.
Yeah, they got that completely wrong, because all that does is, again, regulators don't understand it, but they are the most complicit people pushing unregulated business. If the regulators don't get it right, then the unregulated business exists. The operators are just operating within those regulators' parameters. The only true advantage to the consumers is if they do an open market where anybody can come in, the strong survive and the weak fail.
Adam was being too polite. The U.S. market is full of sportsbooks who talk a big game, but then restrict any competent bettor to insulting limits like these. What can be done about that?
You know, that's unfortunately what's got into there, and until someone can break those shackles, and again, it has to happen from the top down. Like I said, I don't believe there's a single entity in the US right now that I could go knock on their door and say, let me run this place like it should be done, and they just give me the keys. But you give me the keys to any of those places, and you know, they're a market leader within 2 to 3 years. You know, even though some that only have 1% market share right now, done correctly, they can compete with the FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM in some states. But again, the mentality at the top, you know, they're just looking at bottom line, high ROIs, and not realizing that 4% on 10 billion is a hell of a lot better than 10% on 1 billion.
So I got a question, Adam. Would it be possible? We talked a lot today about the different sportsbook models, and you know, you've thrown out some examples there of that, what we call the recreational model, the European model, right. And of course, you're kind of an example of the sharp model or the offshore model. Is there any way to blend the two? Is there anyone that could possibly bridge that?
That's the misnomer, is that the sharp model is for sharp players. The sharp model isn't for sharp players. It's for everybody. You know, it's not just because you invite those guys in the door, it's not about them. It's about having the best number where you can welcome anybody in and confidently take their wager and give them the entertainment they want, whether they're a $5 bettor or they're a $5 million bettor. That's worked. I mean, I've done this for a long time. Every sport or every segment of a company that I've taken over has, you know, 10, 20x'd over the course of sort of 4 to 5 years of what it was when I walked in to what it is now. It works. I mean, it's a proven model. It's just, you know, the executives and the non bookmakers or non people at the top just don't understand it and don't, you know, believe that it actually works. So there's really two models. There's a recreational model, and then there's everybody come and have a bet model. And they're really the two models. I don't know if there's anyone now that has the mindset that could, you know, potentially change that. Again, you know, all they're doing is they're marketing companies. They're not bookmakers. You know, I know a lot of people sort of push that sentiment. Again, really, it's a service industry. I mean, just serve your customers. And again, you need the volume to make it sustainable. The US is kind of set up where it's just lots of little countries, you know, and you really, to do that, to be a European sort of way, you've got to be in, you know, Austria, Switzerland, Sweden, you know, you've got to have the volume. But once you have the volume and you can just take everybody's bets, it works. I mean, again, it's proven that it works, but you know, try telling that to 98% of the people in the industry.
Another concept popular with avid bettors is a betting exchange. I asked Adam if he ever sees betting exchanges being able to thrive in the U.S. market.
Yeah, they will. I'm not a fan of exchanges. I think Betfair's kind of proven that, you know, in the beginning it was sort of 33% recreational, 33% bookies, 33% gamblers, professional gamblers. Now it's probably 49.5% bookies, 49.5%, you know. So, but with the US one, you've got a lot of, you know, the Wall Streets, the hedge funds, those kind of things, that it's kind of funny how they're sort of gravitating towards the sports industry when it's so small compared to what they do every day. But I guess they, you know, they think that they can find an edge or find a way in to offer, you know, those micro margin futures, NFL games, spreads, stuff like that. I hope they do, because I think the real gamblers will do really well out of it. If Wall Street becomes the market makers of the exchanges, there'll be some pretty happy syndicates and gamblers, I believe, competing into that and really picking off the soft spots, information, all those kind of things. I imagine one day, and I think there's enough of them trying to get into the market right now or coming up with ideas that within, I guess, a couple of years, you probably see one at least attempt it. How long they last, I don't really know.
Lastly, having been in and around that industry, I wanted to know Adam's thoughts about the future of the offshore sports betting market.
I don't think it's going anywhere, just because of the regulators and the mistakes they're kind of making, and with the simplicity of the cryptos and moving those depositing, and that was always the difficult thing, was how do you deposit, how do you withdraw? Well, that's been the old ACH days, and going to Western Union and things like that isn't needed anymore. You can literally do everything from your home, and but again, regulators aren't operators. Most of them aren't gamblers. Most of them aren't. So they sort of think that they're protecting the consumer, where it's complete opposite. They're making it harder for the consumer to just be able to make a deposit, place a bet, enjoy the game, move on. So, that will keep it alive. I think it'll contract. I don't think there'll be as many people, because there's a lot of them. Again, offshore isn't immune to limiting people. Places very quickly, I guess some of the bigger ones, Jazz Sports, Bovada, some of these, they limit you to $10 within one or two bets. They're no different than the regulated ones. But I think majority of people are just entertainment bettors, and they'll bet locally because it's easier and more convenient.
Okay, well, I guess that about does it. I'd like to thank my guest here today, Adam Bjorn. Adam, you were incredible. You dispensed a lot of knowledge for people, and I hope everyone's the wiser for having listened to you. Where can people find you if they want to get in contact with you?
I can be found on most of the social medias, Twitter, Adam Bjorn 2, LinkedIn. I have a website that I was doing some consulting through. It's adambjorn.com or adam-bjorn.com. Feel free to contact Jack and then, get my details and reach out. But I'm here either whether it's consulting for businesses or just individuals that, want to get on a phone and have a chat and see where they might be able to make it in this industry, whether they're bettors, want to be bookies, or modelers or anything like that. Sort of part of the reason doing this now is to sort of get out there and try and invite people in to do more things and, see where it goes from there.
Excellent. Okay. Well, again, Adam, thank you for joining me today. And for everyone else, until next time, go out there and win some wagers.